Good evening. I love when Jesus just leads me and leads me and leads me, and I come to something that I could have never come to on my own. There's just no way. And it is so profound. It, it just affects everything from here on out. It's like pivotal. And so, this is about, he brought to mind about a scapegoat. And um, So I don't know if some of you guys may not be religious, so you've never heard of a scapegoat, or maybe you heard of it in the 80s, like a slang, like he or she is a scapegoat. She's the one that they've marked to carry the blame for everything, even though they're innocent. So I'm going to read to you from, I always go to Chabad. It's CHABAD.org. It's about Jewish teaching. So it's the scapegoat, atonement, and purification. So it says, the strangest element of the service on Yom Kippur, set out in, I can't say the word anyway, was a ritual of two goats, one offered as a sacrifice, the other sent away into the desert to Azazel. Well, now isn't that interesting? I'll remind you who Azazel is in a minute. They were brought before the high priest to all intents and purposes indistinguishable from one another. They were chosen to be as similar as possible to one another in size and appearance. Lots were drawn. That kind of sounds like Purim. Isn't that interesting? One bearing the words, to the Lord, to the other, to Azazel. The one on which the lot to the Lord fell was offered as a sacrifice. Over the other, the high priest confessed the sins of the nation, and it was then taken away into the desert hills outside Jerusalem, where it plunged to its death. Tradition tells us that a red thread would be attached to its horns, half of which was removed before the animal was sent away. If the rite had been effective, the red thread would turn to white. Okay, I could go on, but I wanted to remind you who Azazel was. He was one of the watchers, and he said in, let me get it here. Azazel is one of the leaders of the rebellious watchers in the time preceding the flood. He taught men the art of warfare, making swords, knives, shields, and coats of mail, and taught women the art of deception by ornamenting the body, dyeing the hair, and painting the face, putting on eyebrows, blah, 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 blah. So Azazel is the one, he was the leader of the watchers that led the rebellion, that made the Nephilim and all that kind of stuff, okay? So let's go back to what I'm talking about, which is the scapegoat. And you can see that there are so many similarities between the story of Jesus, and you have Jesus and his disciples, and it's looking like that you have Judas and Peter, right? They are so similar. Peter ends up dying upside down on a cross like Jesus, and Judas ends up hanging himself. And I guess the way the story goes is that he fell into like this it's like sea, an area where broken pottery was, and was impaled. It's pretty rough, but so anyways, so with the scapegoat, one is the sacrifice, which rolls the sin ahead, and one is the scapegoat, which keeps the sinner tied in the past. So you have the past and the present. Where's the person? In a living hell. And I was sitting there thinking about it, going, oh my gosh, that's like a loan. That's like the American life. Right there. So you go to college to get an education, and if you don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars to get a good education, you can have grants and scholarships, but you're still going to end up getting loans, and that's what this nation is ate up with, is school loans, education loans, right? And so the scapegoat is in the past. The sin's already done, okay? There ain't no going back. The education is already done. You already signed the paper saying, I will get an education in exchange for the forfeiture of my life. The people that I owe money to own me. And I'm talking from experience here. I still I went to college, and I still owe, well, I borrowed $10,000, and so it says I owe $15,000, but check this out. Every month I get a statement, and they're like, "Oh, you're doing a good job paying zero money because you're too poor to pay anything." Oh, that's good. Thank you so much. Anyways, so you have the scapegoat that has went to its death, carrying the sins off into, so that's like suicide, right? Okay, and then you have the other one over here, which is sacrificed. So they both die. No one's living. And here the person is in the middle that is supposed to be having a better life because, I don't know. I mean, because you don't want to be that person and you don't want to be this person. So you're the one that bought a better life, right? Where's it at? Where's that better life at? Because you aren't free to do anything. And if you don't make the right choices, you're going to end up like the thing that everybody fears. Homeless, having claimed bankruptcy, foreclosure, repossession of your car, all that kind of stuff. Been there, done that. All of it. It's gone. And I am here to tell you I am free from that living hell. Jesus said to me, he said, "Trudy, you will never pay a penny. You will never pay a penny on the education. I brought you there for a season to show you something and to win territory. And here I am. It's still there, but it holds nothing over me. And I absolutely know without a shadow of a doubt, Jesus has taken care of it." So this whole video is about something that is it's very important, because we have to understand that when you want something, when you're desiring something out of fear, it always produces death. And that has, wow. I'm just looking at all of the decisions I've ever made, and although I'm following Jesus and I'm letting him lead me, it doesn't mean that the things that he had to leave me out of wasn't in fact based in fear, because it was. My whole life, these things, I was just in absolute torment. I was so afraid of this and that and whatever. So in order to get out of those, I had to go through them. So I can tell you right now that when I became homeless again for the second time, I mean, the first time homeless, that's Restoration Village. The second time homeless was he allowed, I can't even say allowed, my home was foreclosed on. The very one that he led me to out of Restoration Village in order to teach me spiritual warfare. Well, when it was done, I didn't need the house anymore, and he kept me in that house for 2 years after my last payment. So I have no argument, okay? Everything is going as uninterrupted growth. That's what it is. It's uninterrupted growth. So I'm just following him, and all this stuff is happening, and I'm looking at it and going, oh my gosh, I lost my house. What am I going to do? So the thing that I was fearing, I can tell you right now at the moment, was when I was sitting in the chair at my mom's house, I was thinking, well, what's all this about? Why am I here? God's failed me. How could he lead me to a place that was, everything was paid for, fully furnished. I got my earnest money back, and yet all I had to do was pay the mortgage every month, and then he required me to quit my job, and I can't imagine what the meaning was. So at the time, I'm still following Jesus. He said it was time to go back to school. And I was like, what? Why do I want to go? I don't want to. So I went back to JBU, and I look at it now and I'm like, yeah, I think probably there was some fears of not being somebody, of having failed everybody and everything, and even failed my kids. I believe there probably was a lot of fear that I just couldn't even address. So Jesus had to walk me out of it. And I had to go through it to see that I don't want to be a counselor. I don't want to counsel people. I don't want to be a teacher. I don't want to teach people. That's not who I am. None of that is who I am. But I had to go through it to find out those do not apply. They're not who I am. So what I'm saying is that as we go through the process, we need to understand that the only way to get free from death on both sides of us, in the past and in the future, Jesus paid the once and for all price. And I love how everybody just throws that out like, Jesus paid the once and for all price. It's already done. We don't have to worry about our sins. But then you got the other people that are like, yeah, but that one, don't know. He did not give you a license for sin. And if you still want to do that, then I don't know. You probably aren't really saved. Then you haven't raised any kids. Because I'm here to tell you, kids want to do what they want to do when they want to do it. All the time. And it plainly says in the Bible that foolishness is bound up in the heart of a child. So how do you know that an adult is still a child? When they're still being foolish. Okay? And leave them alone. Let them be. They aren't going to stop being foolish and stop being a child until, guess what? They get their needs met, and then they won't need it anymore. I remember reading Gwen Shamblin a long time ago, and she had said, if you have a craving for chocolate, just eat it. Eat it all the time. And guess what's going to happen? You're going to get sick of it, and you'll be done with it, and you won't eat it no more. Well, here we are. Once I told myself I could have chocolate, I found out it doesn't really work well with my belly, and I don't like feeling bad. And peanut butter and caramel, yeah, I like the taste of it, but I don't really like how it treats my belly. I would rather eat vegetables. I like how vegetables treat my belly. And you only get one body, so, you have to allow people to go through growth process. It is not pretty. It is painful. It is a living hell, okay? You're coming up out of death. Think about it. Think about a plant. It's always past it coming up. It blooms. It dies. It comes and it goes again and again and again. We're always coming up, out, and we go right back down. And we're sewing again and again and again, almost like a needle through a material. Again and again and again. Okay? So stop avoiding the thing that you think that holds fear for you. Just face it head on, and don't go alone. You don't have to go alone. You can straight up say, Jesus, I have got some serious fears. I know I do, and I am tired of hiding them from you. It's not like you can't see them. You do. And I guess I just didn't want to know that you've always known. But I'm tired of dishonoring you. I know you know me. So can we sit down and have a real conversation about why I think I'm unlovable? Or can we talk about why I think this is my lot in life? Like, why I think that I have to be this way. Is this a price that I have to pay? Why do I have to live like this and other people live differently? And just start talking to God about the fears that you have every day. Am I hard to be around? I need to know the truth about it. Is there something I can correct about myself? Because I want people to love being in my presence because they sense you. They sense the presence of God when they come in my presence. They're like, oh, there's something just so lovely. I just want to be with this person. I want to be around them. Let's talk about it. That's how you actually grow, is by talking it out. I just really, really want to encourage you all to face your fears, please. Face your fears. You're going to find out that every desire that we try to birth ourselves that's based in any kind of fear always reaps living death. Okay? Let's stop doing that. Let's stop investing in things that causes us to be in a catch-22 or a chokehold or, like, just like I'm hemmed in on one side and I'm hemmed in on this side and I'm right here and I have to have the best life ever right here because I paid for it. No. You gotta be able to breathe in order to live. So ask Daddy God to come in and help you alleviate the circumstances that has you like this, okay? Because if there is a way around it, He knows it. And He can help you be able to breathe. I love you guys. Have a great evening.